Hello everyone, welcome to General Lando 327 plays Final Fantasy XIII. This is episode 2 of the What If You Don't Like My Way series. In this episode I'll be fighting Cid with a few different parties than I used previously in the fight that I did on the actual stream. And the first one we're going to do, as I was getting ready for this video, I obviously tried a few different things that I hadn't really necessarily played with before. And the first one we're going to do here is actually one that might actually be a better strategy than the one that I used on the stream. And especially so if you didn't have the shrouds, or didn't feel like using the shrouds. This is actually a really good setup for just taking him out normally without having to worry about without buffing beforehand or too much extra setup. Let's see, I need that. And the basic setup here is designed in such a way that our goal is to not even let him see the Metamorphosis ability. We have Solidarity and Guarded Assault just in case, but the 3 or 4 times that I've run it with this setup, three out of the 4 times he didn't even have a chance to use Metamorphosis, let alone cast Seraphic Ray on us. And that's I'll talk about the strategy of it while I'm doing the battle, but we do have, so the top four paradigms here are the ones that we're hoping to use and not have to ever use these 2 bottom ones. These are just in case he does have to use he does get a chance to use Metamorphosis on us. Guarded Assault is there for when he casts Seraphic Ray, and we don't even need to actually set it up beforehand or try to anticipate it. As soon as we see the caption, if we switch over to Guarded Assault, the fringe ward abilities of both Fang and Snow will handle the majority of the damage that we would have taken without the Sentinels in the party. And then Solidarity is there for healing post Metamorphosis if he actually gets that far and the battle lasts that long. The beauty of this setup is that it shouldn't. Actually, we need to set up equipment. So normally I would keep the Pandoran Spear on, but for this we're trying to do as much damage, sort of as much damage as quickly as possible, but I guess the capability to do as much damage as quickly as possible. So the only thing that switches for her is we're going to use the Bladed Lance. We need to switch over to Vanille real quick so I can take off the Shaman's Mark, because I'm going to need that. And instead of the Power Wristband, we're going to give Lightning that Shaman's Mark to raise her magic stat. Because she's going to be primarily used as a Ravager and a Medic, because we don't have any other Medic. So, and I don't want to waste the slot for a Doctor's Code. And then to boost the ward ability, the Fringe Ward, we're going to give him the Umbra and then hopefully not have to care about that ability. But if we do, it's there. And then he's going to get a Power Wristband, and which is the other reason we wanted to take it off of, and he's going to get a Black Belt. Which the Power Wristband for him is the other reason that we wanted to take it off of Lightning. You'll notice his magic stat is very low, relatively speaking. It's 155, whereas even Fangs, who doesn't even use magic other than for Saboteur buffing or debuffing at this point in the game, Snow's magic is like 50 points lower than that. So, and that ironically, as we're going into the fight here, I'll talk a little bit about the strategy behind this. Ironically, the fact that his magic stat is so low is one of the reasons that this setup works and is capable of beating Cid before he even gets to Metamorphosis. That, combined with the fact that Fang has the defensive set of debuffs, means that we're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage in the very early stage of the fight. Remember that Metamorphosis triggers when Cid gets to about 50 to 60% health. So all we're going to do here is, we're not even going to bother with Libra. If you were using this as like your primary strategy going through the game, you'd probably want to use the breakers for the completion, but you don't even need it for this fight because he's not weak against anything or strong against anything elementally, and all the buffs that we care about are going to stick. So we're just going to sit here and use... can't believe I have to heal already. So this is where things start to get interesting, because theoretically you want to get this through so that you don't actually have to heal, because by allowing Fang to make attacks as a commando, we're lowering his health more than I would like to. But then we just want to keep throwing our debuffs at him until we get them all to stick. There we go. And interestingly, I hate it when he does that. Fog is one of our best friends in this fight. Slow and Fog are the two that you care about the most, although Curse helps you to prevent Metamorphosis between the time that he is... Alright, I'm going to use Renew because this is annoying me. I don't want to switch back to healing again. Renew instead. Because I want to get Fog on him so that if he switches into Recovery Stance again, he can't do anything, because he has Asuna and Cure. They're both spells. Fog blocks both of them. What I really want him to do is go into... That's what I want him to go into, is guard. That gives me the time to set the rest of this up. Once I get the last debuff to stick, technically it's not necessary, but I don't want to be doing too much damage to him until, there it is, until I'm ready to actually take him down. Because now what I'm going to do is just heal up so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to do one extra round here even though I'm healed, because that will give me the 2 rounds to use directly into Cerberus. And now we're just going to juggle him. And as long as you keep him juggled, you should kill him before the stagger ends. Which means he's never going to get a chance to use Metamorphosis. Come on, Snow. Thank you. I didn't need to do mine right away. That's okay. We're good. Come on, Snow. Get in there. Nope, that's done. And that's all there is to it. So... as it turns out, this actually probably is a better strategy as long as you are fully developed at this point. There is that caveat. If you didn't spend the time grinding and finishing off that tier of the Custarium, you may not be able to do it quickly enough to make it worth your while. But that was without shrouds. So, you know, obviously you could throw shrouds and make that even easier. Then you're basically guaranteed to not... see a Metamorphosis. So anyway, that's probably the best option if you don't want to do it the way I do it. Although I have actually since changed my guide that I wrote for this game and added this as I actually added it as a secondary because it's not really my playstyle, but I did note that it's probably a better strategy for certain uses. Especially if you don't have the shrouds. Because you can do it with my strategy without the shrouds. It's just considerably more difficult. Alright, so the next one we're going to do is... kind of somewhere between the one that I've been using. Yeah. It's going to be one that uses a sentinel. We're going to use Snow in place of Fang, and we're going to use Saz in place of Vanille, but we're still going to be relying on shrouds for this. You'll see that this is not a great setup. It works, but it's not really the best setup in the world. And we're going to put protection in there. No, I'm sorry. We're not going to put protection. For our non-shroud run, we're going to do this with both a shroud run and a non-shroud run. For our shroud run, we're not going to put a synergist in there. Because once he hits Metamorphosis, every time he uses Seraphic Ray, any buffs that you have on are going to disappear, just like all of the debuffs do. So it's not really worth it to have a synergist in that case. Let's see, Mystic Tower, that's Sentinel, Ravager, Adversity, and then try Disaster. For the only time that Snow is going to be a Ravager. So basically this makes use of Saz's versatility, which I think is going to be the backbone of a lot of my What If You Don't Like It My Way strategies. Is going to have Saz as the versatile backbone of it, and then whatever role players I want around it to solve the various challenges of the fight. Equipment. First, let's take off. What do I need? I need the Brawler's Wristband. I don't need that. I need the Shaman's Mark. That's really all I need. Okay. Snow is gonna keep his Power Circle, and then he's gonna get the... Oh, the other thing that was different between the last setup that I did and the one that I did on my actual playthrough is that I didn't use the metal armbands and rainbow anklet to prevent deprotect and daze. Again, my goal was to prevent the Metamorphosis, and if he doesn't use Metamorphosis, then he's not going to use the deprotect and daze or poisonica, whatever. However you're supposed to pronounce poison with a "ga" at the end. Not that I protected against that anyway, but because I don't have enough accessory slots to care about that particular stat. Let's see, and then you need the Brawler's Wristband that I took off of Fang. You get the exact same gears we had for the other fight. No, I'm sorry. She had a metal armband in the last fight. This one, she's going to be my only healer, so she's getting the protection against daze. She's getting the rainbow anklet. But other than that, her stuff is the same. We're going to switch Saz to the Denim Duelers because his job in this is basically going to be sheer damage output. And then we're going to give him the other metal armband and the Shaman's Mark that we took off of Vanille. That means that while his stats are still both lower than Lightning's, it means that Lightning can focus primarily on strength and Saz can focus primarily on magic. And then Snow's going to play to his strengths for the most part. He's going to be primarily Sentinel and then work in some commando stuff when the opportunity arises. But we need to start with... We're going to start in Diversity. Because I need a little bit of... Actually, no. We're going to start in Cerberus. We don't need to start with a Sentinel. I actually kind of designed this so that we did, but with the buffs on, we really don't. We'll start with Cerberus just to stabilize the chain gauge and then drop right into Try Disaster. The intention behind it was originally that Snow would basically just play damage soak the entire time. I haven't actually played with starting in Cerberus with this setup, but I think it'll work. If not, we'll go back and do it the other way. The intention behind this was that Snow is basically going to be permanent sentinel, but for the beginning phase of this fight, the damage output is really enough to care. But we will need those after he uses Metamorphosis. Try Disaster. Now remember that your best times to press the attack are when he's in defensive or recovery shift. I didn't really want to stand there, but whatever. Actually, this isn't a bad one because it'll counter the healing from his curing faster. Whereas Try Disaster doesn't do as much damage, so he's still not. Alright, and there's Metamorphosis, which means we need to drop into Solidarity because he's going to use that. Of course, the downside of this setup is that we do want Snow as our leader because he's got all the HP. I can actually drop into Sick Tower here. While he's guarding, we can use our attacking skills, but we definitely want to keep our Sentinel on the board at this point because he will use Seraphic Ray most of the time when he drops back out of it. Then we want this, and then we still have our Sentinel on the table, and that also keeps challenge up. The other key to this that I've been screwing up is you actually want to change paradigms while Snow is guarding, because then he will not be interrupted from he'll continue the guard cycle even in the middle of it. So I screwed that up, but that's fine. You could briefly use like diversity or something here to try to boost the chain gauge faster. But again, you really want to have Snow left in Sentinel. Because, like I say, as soon as he switches, you're going to get Seraphic Ray. And if he's not already using Challenge, you're either going to get Seraphic Ray or you're going to get, or he's going to immediately launch into one of those physical combos where he launches somebody up into the air. And that can knock out Lightning or Saz in a real hurry. Alright, so now we've got the opportunity to actually go at him. And coincidentally, we got lucky on this. But, see, look, that's how much damage he did to Saz that quickly. Because I didn't have challenge on him anymore. But we can try to use juggling techniques here. One of the other problems with this setup is that Snow doesn't have Scourge or Smite. So when we get to there, he's not going to be able to take advantage of the extra damage boost. And now we need to switch back to this quickly, please. There we go. So that's actually kind of a downfall about this, but we got lucky on the staggering part of that because we got him at the time when, if he uses Seraphic Ray when he has his buffs on, he actually nullifies his own buffs with it and then has to reapply them. So we actually caught it at the right time. And actually, to finish this fight, we're going to use a similar technique. We're going to stay like this until he uses Seraphic Ray and disables it once the chain gauge is a little higher. And then we're going to use a summon to finish the battle. Just trying to make sure I'm in the right setups here. If I'm lucky, he's going to use... Yep, that'll do it. Alright. We're going to stay here for just a second longer. Ah! Okay, now I've got to wait longer, which means I need to heal. That was the window, but I wanted to build up the chain gauge just a little bit more before I did it. It's not usually that short of a window. Alright. Which actually might work out better, because as it turns out, we'll probably stagger him again before he reactivates it. Because now, what he typically does is he'll use one round where he opens up from guard and then uses Seraphic Ray, and then he'll use a second round where he uses the physical attacks. And see, and that's why we gave Lightning the Rainbow Armlet, because she was supposed to, you know, hopefully not get dazed like that, but she's not in medic role anyway, so. Because I hopefully will not use... I probably will. Think of it. Only because he's going to use Seraphic Ray again, probably the next time he opens up. Although, honestly, I probably don't care, because the summon is going to heal everybody. There it is. And then, but debuffs disappear, we're going to use summon, and that'll be the end of the fight. Oh, not as a sentinel, sorry. We need to finish staggering him. Now that he's staggered, we use Cerberus. And if we don't kill him physically, we will kill him in the Gestalt mode. Yeah, we're going to kill him before the... And there we go. And that's the other disadvantage to the paradigm setup that I had with Fang, Light, and Snow, is that Fang doesn't have her Eidolon yet at this point. So you can't use that to close off the last section of his health. But that also means that you don't have any reason not being able to use another Renew. If you needed to. Hopefully you wouldn't need to use it twice, but if you did in the setup, that would be okay. That would prevent you from having to switch to Diversity like I did the first time. If I had used a Renew there instead of switching to Diversity, it probably would have been a little bit quicker battle. Because by switching to Diversity, I prevented Fang from casting debuffs, which means it took longer for us to get to the phase where we could actually attack. Alright, now we're going to do the same setup again. Well, the same party again. Slightly different setup. Without the shrouds. Snow. And this time we are going to have to use a sentinel from the beginning. Because we're going to want Saz to set up. Really the only buffs we need for this fight are the offensive buffs. The defensive buffs, Cid doesn't do enough damage. Cid does not do enough damage to warrant the defensive buffs until after he switches to Metamorphosis. And at that point, every time he uses Seraphic Ray, your buffs are going to go away anyway. So there's really no point in doing that. So the only buffs that are really useful are Saz's offensive buffs. Sen. Oh, I can't remember. I need you to have Ravager. Sen, Med, Centrist, and then Mystic Tower. Then this time we're going to use Umbra instead of the Power Circle because he is primarily going to be a defensive character in this fight. And then you're still going to get the Rainbow Anklet. You're going to switch to the Den of Duelers again. And Shaman's Mark. My other armband. Alright, and then this is going to be the same thing, just with the this time we're going to have Saz apply his 3 buffs to everybody. Except he's going to do 4 because he throws Vigilance in there too, which is actually useful in this fight. This is one of those rare fights that Vigilance is actually helpful because Cid likes to interrupt attacks with his physical abilities and with Ruinga when he gets to that stage. So 4 buffs on everybody: Bravery, Faith, Haste, and Vigilance. Not in that order. Meanwhile, Snow is going to be soaking damage, and Light's going to be attacking / healing. Come on. Use Entrench. Never mind, don't bother. Now you're going to use Medi card. If you could just, use it, that'd be nice. Thank you. The rest of the strategy is basically all good. Alright, we got all 4 now, so then we're going to switch to... this is what I have Delta Attack and Mystic Tower in here for, but we really don't need it. We proved last battle that we can do it with Cerberus and try a disaster, and... might as well just do that. Cerberus would have been better there, because back to what I was saying about the damage, but... The downside to not using the shrouds is that I no longer have the diversity paradigm as a backup for healing in this stage of it. So we're actually almost better using Renew. Especially as long as we still have haste equipped. Because there's no sense switching paradigms, it just takes way longer. We want to press the attack for as long as we can until Until he goes into Metamorphosis, and then we're just gonna have to be on the defensive anyway, so. Alright, Cerberus it is. And again, if we're lucky with, well, right now we have a problem because he's guarding. But the second he stops guarding, we should be able to launch him. Great. How long are we going to guard for today? We're not going to have enough time to kill him after he switches. And of course, when he switches, the one person that doesn't have launch is up. That's one thing I don't like about Saz as a commando, and probably the biggest reason I don't use Saz very often late in the game is because of the fact that he doesn't have launch. And there we go. So we got lucky and didn't quite have enough time, or we killed him just before the stagger ended. So he didn't have time to switch to Metamorphosis. Otherwise, we would have used the defensive setup that I had with Mystic Tower and Delta Attack to redo it, and then we would have used the summon like I did the last time to end the battle. So there you go. Now you've actually seen me use Shiva on camera, besides the battles that are scripted for it. I actually used, I may still in this next battle. The last one we're going to do here is a combination. It's going to be the opposite of the power team that we did with Fang, Light, and Snow. We're going to use Saz, Hope, and Vanille. And we're going to use the combination of Vanille's debuffs and the capability to buff in a hurry. We're going to use Shrouds because you probably don't want to try this one without Shrouds. But I honestly didn't even try it. It probably could be done, but when you have other options, why would you do it that way? Alright. So basically we're going to use a combination of the original approach that I used with Saboteurs and the last approach that I used with a Synergist in the party. What am I doing? Oh, I see what's going on. Let's just move this to here and switch this to... and we're going to use the fact that we have 2 medics to heal quickly. And we also have Vanille to let us continue fighting with 2 attackers while she does a lot of healing because she can. Smart bomb. That goes there. And then we use our standard fallback of Diversity and Relentless Assault. So the early part of the fight is going to be basically the same as when we had Fang in the party doing the Saboteur thing, only this time we have the offensive debuffs, so we're going to be pushing up the damage gauge a lot higher, which we're going to need with this battle. We're going to need to do as much damage as possible early, because once he uses Metamorphosis, we're going to be doing a lot of dropping into healing paradigms, unfortunately, because, well, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I'm going to have to restart this battle. I forgot to do equipment. It's kind of important. I could probably do it without the equipment, but it will make it easier. And at this stage, it's pretty easy to just switch. And I also forgot the Shrouds. So yeah, that would have been a bad fight. Would have been curious to see if I could have done it. Probably could. I know this fight pretty well at this point. But it would have taken me a lot more thought. Alright. Yeah, need the Brawler's Wristband off of you. And that's all I really need. I think everything else I can handle from here. We're going to stick with the Procyon here because the stagger maintenance ability on them is going to be very beneficial to us. Again, we want to do as much damage as quickly as possible, which means as soon as he's staggered, we want to pile on the damage and hopefully not have as long in Metamorphosis phase. And then you're going to get the Brawler's Wristband that I just took off and a Tungsten Bangle. And again, we're not going to use the, we're going to stick with the Air Wing. Then we're going to get the Shaman's Mark. I need to swap the, do it this way. Yeah, actually, you're not going to get either of the things you already had. You're going to get Tungsten Bangle, and you're going to get the Rainbow Anklet that you had in the previous fight. That's the only debuff protection we're going to leave on, because we definitely want her not to get dazed. But then I'm not going to worry about the deprotect protection, only because I have two very good healers. So if I need to drop into that paradigm to cast Asuna, I can do that. Much safer in this variation than when I had Lightning and Vanille. And then you're going to get both of the things that Vanille just had. Gold Bangle and Shaman's Mark for survivability. And for the Magic Wall ability there. Soak a little bit of the magic anyway. And, oh, you know what I forgot? One of the rare times I'm going to switch her staff out to the healer staff for the improved cure ability. Again, I would like to see Hope in Ravager for as long as possible. And then we're going to use the Shrouds. And for real this time. And then this is going to be our last one. I toyed with doing some of the battles around here, but to be honest, you can pretty much do, like, even the behemoth fights. You can get preemptive strikes very easily. I thought about playing with the, I think the Berserkers here. The ones that forge the blade, the metal Centaurian type ones that forge a blade. I've toyed with trying to do some of those fights with each of these parties just to show how they went, but it takes too long to get to them, and it's not really worth it. At this point, as long as you're have your Crystarium completely finished to this point, it's not gonna matter. Alright, there's the protect. And the ones we care about the most are obviously deprotect, D-shell, and imperil. We don't really care about poison. Poison is useful, but he's going to get rid of it as soon as he uses Metamorphosis anyway. Alright, now that we've got that, we can go to Try Disaster. Again, we're taking advantage of the fact that the Saboteur roll has the same effect on or close to the same effect on the stabilizing the chain gauge as, really? You're casting Asuna? Have to make things complicated on me, don't you? That's the downside to using Vanille as a, Saboteur instead of Fang. I don't have access to Defog. Okay, now we want to get this to hit before he uses that. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. He staggered just before, as Seraphic Ray was captioned, but not before he used it. Or not, yeah, he didn't use it, is my point. And then we switch to Relentless Assault, and we finish this while he's using it. Of course. That's okay. We're still going to finish it before the stagger ends. This is the advantage to having two Ravagers in the party, is that they can keep boosting the chain gauge massively, and then every one of Saz's attacks does huge amounts of damage, assuming that he doesn't die in, like, one sequence. Thank you. And that's the risk we take with that. There we go. Again, you wouldn't want to try to do that without the shrouds. That party would die in a hurry. But because of the shrouds, we were able to have all of the buffs in place. Theoretically, you could use Sazin. You could start in whatever that other paradigm is that I put in there just in case. Superiority. You could try to do that, but the problem is that doing that, you're not pushing the chain gauge up very quickly, and he's just going to switch over to recovery and recovery shift, get rid of all of his the debuffs that Vanille keeps putting on, and it's going to be an endless cycle of he's going to win a war of attrition. But that's that. So that was, 1, 2, 3, 4 other setups that you can use for that fight besides the one that I used in my general walkthrough. I hope you enjoy it. I hope if you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And then share it with your friends so that they can enjoy it too, hopefully. Thank you all for watching. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.